We're live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday Night Rabbit Hole. The subject we're going to talk about tonight, and we're going to get right into it because it's a doozy, is the Newport Inglewood Rose Canyon Fault Zones, plural, and they start up at the Hollywood Fault and primarily and go south all the way to San Diego. And then if we get a little bit extra, maybe we'll go into Mexico and kind of show you how that rises up to meet the plan. And next week we'll go west of this and we'll hit the Huntington Beach, Coronado, and
Palos Verdes
and the San Diego Trough, and we'll hit the main ones out there. And then the following week, I'm pretty sure we're going to go to the Rift Zone. Am I right? We're going to do the Rift, then come back to the coast.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
because
probably.
The Rift is necessary in the south part, the southern portion, up to Ridgecrest and Garlock, and then we go out to Lompoc and then go north, and then we'll come back over to Mammoth and go north. So it's basically we're trying to familiarize everybody with the different faults and the activity of these faults, and what we've learned by studying these faults, the capabilities, what kind of faults they are, and sometimes we just don't know. They're hidden faults, and there's a lot of thrust faults, there's a lot of strike slip, and there's a compressional components to some of them, and some of them are old and not going anymore. They're quaternary issues, eras, late quaternary. That means kind of new. And then there's pre-quaternary ones. It's kind of older. And I don't know what quaternary means. To me, it means a quarter, but I don't know. But it's, but that's what we're doing this evening, and in the next couple of evenings. So we're trying to start it at 6, but obviously I ran a little bit late. I didn't realize I was working 3 hours straight, and I'm a little bit fried, so forgive me. I'm trying to figure it all out. And anyway, the latest I heard on, as we do this every week, Iceland is infilling again. The last I heard.
Yeah, but they just don't know how long it's going to take.
Right. So
it could take
2
months or 3 months or whatever. Right. They don't know.
But it's still not dead. It's not done.
No.
And that's the kicker. It's not done. And for those people who are out there watching for that kind of stuff, beware. It's not finished. And what else? Whatever comes up. I don't want to get too much into it.
Well, the hurricane now, they're saying it's going to be Cat 4 by the time it goes by Tampa Bay, but it may be 5 by the time it hits land.
Oh, wow.
And if it's 5, it's going to be 20 to 30 feet of storm surge.
Wow.
So they're basically telling everybody to get out of there.
Get the hell out, yeah. I heard that they're stopping people from going in.
Yeah, the storm chasers, they don't want them in there because they think they won't be able to get back out if stuff happens.
Right, and they're gonna yeah, they'll be up the creek, in a bad way, because they are not going to be able to handle it. God bless America. I want this thing over here.
Well, the winds are going to be bad too, so it's going to destroy stuff and knock all the trees down. And they said way up into Georgia, because one of the guys there was saying they have hurricane warnings way up to Macon, Georgia.
Oh,
that
really?
Yeah, that.
I wonder where Macon is. Maybe we can find. Well, I know somebody's going to be there. He's going to be there looking for Brokeback Mountain, drinking his Bud Light, and looking for a cornroll dude to cornroll his head. because he you don't want to cut his hair. He's a hippie.
And one of the weather guys there that I watch that does stuff for the Northeast, he lives in the Georgia mountains, way up at the top of the mountains.
Yeah.
And he has tropical storm warnings up there, which I thought was crazy. But
all right.
And he's like way up high, right at the top of whatever those mountains are in Georgia, because that's where he does his nightly weather report from.
Up in Georgia, then. Eh?
Yeah, in the mountains of Georgia, even though he's retired, but he used to be a New York City weatherman. But
really?
Yeah, that's where he does his show from now on his side.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they do a thing like they have a show like every night where they talk about weather for like an hour. He and his other.
Oh, I think I saw the guy. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. The Joe and Joe weather show, because the two guys on it are two retired weathermen from like New York City.
Right on.
So it's a pretty good show.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. I watch the Surf Report, dude. He's good. I like him quite a bit.
I watch them more in the winter because they do a good job.
Oh, yeah.
All the storms coming up the coast. I don't watch them so much in the summer. It's more boring in the summer, except when hurricanes.
It's boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good. There's a lot of people on there from like all over. So,
all right.
And they respond to people in the chat and everything. So it's pretty good.
Yeah. I can't find my Mexican, my Mexican radio. No, I can't find the Mexican. I saw him just the other day too when I was working. I go, okay, I'm gonna need these. I can't find them. You know, the ones down in, below San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking for them. Like, oh, what the hell, man? All right. Well,
I have a map for later when we get to there. But
all right, I know I have maps too. I'm going, damn it, I know I got them. But because of what we do almost every day, it's really difficult.
Well, it's getting to be so much stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like when I put stuff in my bookmarks again, I have so many now I can't find it. I have to scroll. Like it's easier for me to just search it again to find it because I have so many things in my bookmarks now, and I'm even putting them in folders. But like when I go in the folder, there's like 500 things in a folder.
I know, Brett. I got that too. All right.
So it's wild.
Well, normally we do this at 7:00, and right now we have 15 minutes, so we're right in there. But northern. I'm gonna see if I can do that. Northern Mexico faults. Images. All right. Yeah, there's the one right there on Tumblr. Okay.
Yeah,
the
Tumblr is the best one because it's fairly new. So
right,
it's like 2020, I think. So it gives all of them. You can see them all on the bottom and how they connect to the other ones. So that's where we're going eventually once we get through Newport, Inglewood, and Rose Canyon.
Yeah.
Well, what we should do, because you already have the big map up there, I'd put that up and then talk about the segments, and then I'll do my part after that.
Yeah, want me to paraphrase it, or did you want to do it, or it's up to you?
Well, I'd say just go through and give.
Oh, to break it down into zones. Okay.
Yeah, like each the names. And the sections, because you will be able to see them on that because it's all color coded on that.
Right. Let me make sure I can share this screen here. Share screen, font. There we go. Share this, and make sure you can see it. Share on stream. There we go. All right, everybody. Let's start. All right. The Newport Inglewood Rose Canyon Fault for the United States of America. Begins right here where we started our whole Santa Monica Fault, Hollywood, Raymond Fault system, turns into Cucamonga. out there to Lido Creek. Remember all that? And the top of San Jacinto, the top of Elsinore Fault, and then now we're doing the next one west, and it's the Newport Inglewood Rose Canyon Fault. Okay, so this one begins at Hollywood. Santa Monica Fault interjects with the Hollywood Fault. Just so happens the Newport Inglewood comes right up in there. So I call this section 1 right at the top here. Zone 1. It has it also has a splay off of here at 435, which is the Overland Fault, which is, I'm thinking it's part of it, but it might not be, but it's still right there. Charnock Fault. Newport Inglewood Fault is right here. The West Beverly Hills Lineament is right there. And so we have both of these, and then the Newport Fault starts like right here where the red is. And the orange and red Culver City to Dominguez Hills is one sector. So Culver City to Dominguez Hills right down here. And inside of this, we have the Inglewood Fault West, Venice Boulevard to Inglewood Boulevard. It's definitely a fault. And then there's a Potrero Fault, P-O-T-R-E-R Fault, R-O Fault. Inglewood East to the 105. So here's the Paramount right there, right? Dominguez Hills. There's the 105 right through here, right? Then you got West Slauson, and here's Culver City up here. So Venice Boulevard is right up in here, goes to here. So there's a Inglewood Fault right here, and then we bounce out here. A lot of these ones that just pop up, it's like, what? I thought there it is, Potrero Fault. So Newport Inglewood's here, but they have the Newport Inglewood Fault is made up of many, many little faults, but they call them the Newport Inglewood Fault system, much like what's over there on the other faults that we talked about. And it's North Los Angeles Basin area, okay? And then the next section kind of run down to Culver City to Dominguez Hills. That's Dominguez Hills. So Culver City is from here to here. The other one's like up in here. Avalon Compton Fault. So if you ever hear about the Avalon Compton Fault, that's the northern part of the Newport Inglewood Fault, right? So that's that's zone 2. Zone 3 I have is Newport Beach, which is down here, Long Beach into Newport, and it's pretty intense. I've got Orange, and it's Orange County. It breaks down to basically northern, central, and southern Orange County into 3 different sectors. Out here, along here is the Cherry Hill Fault from the LA River to Signal Hill. And you can zoom in here. Signal, here's Dominguez Hills right there. And what's the number? 441 right here, right? Signal Hill's right here. And if you've ever been to Los Angeles, Signal Hill is along the 405. You can see it. It's a hill, right? It's like, where the hell did that come from? And you can see it all around. So it's pretty tall. So here's the LA River to Signal Hill. That little section's called the Cherry Hill Fault. Still part of the same fault system. Then there's the northeast flank of the fault. And then the Reservoir Hill Fault, which is longer yet. That goes from Signal Hill down to Seal Beach. And Seal Beach is the edge of Orange County. And it's a dextral fault. All right. So it's a fault outside, right? The Reservoir Hill Fault is that one. Okay. So now we go into North Orange County, which is right up here by the Naval Weapons Station. Right here is it's flat. It's all like a marshland, right? All the way through Seal Beach and Sunset Beach and the marsh. Okay, it's all like really flat and it floods a lot. So that's I'm going to call that the North Orange County section, and that's Zone 4. It's from Seal Beach Wildlife down to Huntington Beach, and Sunset Beach is in the middle. The northern branch of the is still considered the northern branch of the Newport Inglewood, and the southern branch begins right here in Huntington Beach. So in the central part, as we break down, you see all these lines right here. There are many, many faults. The Olive Avenue fault in the west, and the South Branch fault is the orange one, and the North Branch fault is a little bit, or this is Lionston. There is the South Branch. That's the North Branch, and then we got Garfield, in the middle. Garfield is a street, and then it goes into a longer one, which I just found out today, the Bolsa Fairview fault. Where I lived was off of Fairview. Where my daughter lives is off of Bolsa. So, and we were 10 miles apart. And I didn't realize the same fault went from my house to her house. That's really a bit weird for me.
Well, I think that's why it's so bad for the liquefaction thing, right?
Yes.
All these other little faults coming off the other one that's reacting to it, right?
Right. All of this is sedimentary, and it's 50 feet above sea level. Lots of it is below sea level. And the ocean, it's kind of weird. The ocean comes up, the sandbar comes up, and then it rolls back down. And so it's like a lot of flat area. Warner, in this area where my daughter lives, it's really flat. And there's not a whole lot of mountains except for Signal Hill up in the north. That's why I say you can see it from a long way. You can see it from down here in Orange County. That's how big it is. It's probably about 600 feet up, but you can see a long way. The Indianapolis Fault, downtown Huntington Beach, goes from Beach Boulevard to Newland, and all these faults are concealed. They're underground, but they know they exist. The Adams Avenue Fault, which is right there at 5 points, and the Yorktown, which is at 5 points too. All of these fault systems, they're all splays, and they all kind of have a northwest to southeast, right? Trend. But the actual Newport Inglewood fault is a little bit more north to south. So it's kind of funky. It's like this is moving and everything else has to move along with it. So then that's the central part of Orange County. Now the southern part of Orange County, we moved from Costa Mesa down into Newport. The southern green dotted line is Superior, right down here in Newport Beach. And the South Branch faults down there of the Newport Inglewood. The bottom of Orange County, the bottom orange dotted line right down here is the North Branch fault. Then you get into South County down this way, the 463. The green dotted is a Pelican Hill fault. And it's interesting. These are mountainous. This region is mountainous. Very, very, very wealthy houses. Newport. And once you get past this Santiago Creek, San Diego Creek, they call it, the house income is like exorbitant amount of money. You're talking multi-million-dollar homes. And just a quarter of no, it's not even a quarter of an acre. It's a quarter of an acre is about $500,000, just the land. So if you got a quarter of an acre, that's like 4 of those. And that's like $2 million. And Pelican Hill, it rises up. It's beautiful. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Driving this road here, driving from one side to the other, looking at the ocean, because you're way up there. At this little San Joaquin's Hill corridor, it goes through the canyon and it's up really high, probably 1,200 feet, I would think, maybe 1,300 feet, maybe a little higher. So the San Joaquin Hills. And but this fault right through here is still part of the Newport Inglewood fault system, but it is its own fault there. The purple area is the Newport Inglewood's fault out here, the Dana Point section of it, and it goes, here's Dana Point down here, Capistrano's down here, and the Capistrano mission is right down here. Okay, just so anybody knows, San Clemente, and then that's the border of Orange County and San Diego County. So in San Diego County, we're on Zone 7. There's many sectors in this, and it's kind of far out. You can see the Aliso and out there. But this Cristianos fault, they don't have any information on it, but it's a splay off of the Newport Inglewood fault that goes all the way into Elsinore. So the Rancho Santa Margarita, where the fires were, the line fire, it was right off of that and that fire moved south into Elsinore. But it was like right up in here. So this Cristianos fault is a splay off of it. It's kind of an odd place. It's kind of how I liken it is the faults that come from Elsinore over to San Jacinto. The what do you call them? The Brago Springs and that area where it jumps over. That's what's happening out here, and that's the Cristianos fault. It's a pretty strong fault there. But offshore here, San Clemente, Carlsbad, Oceanside, right down here to the border, this Cristianos fault goes from the Santiago Canyon, which is where the fires were, 5,600 feet up there at the top of the mountains, and down to zero. Okay, so it's pretty high up there. And as you get down into the Elsinore Mountains, it gets down about 1,600 feet, and then the ocean. Camp Pendleton is Marine base is right there, and that's all these purple ones are the Newport Inglewood fault. They haven't got anything on them, so there's not a whole lot for me to tell you. This little section of orange right here, that's the Encinitas fault. So it's kind of like, hey, they know the fault's certain, they know it's there, but there's not a lot of information that I have off it. It's the Newport, it's getting close to the Del Mar section. Del Mar's right here, and that's the racetrack. So down here in this little purple area, and as I kill another flying little bug in it, excuse me, and then as we get into San Diego County, from Oceanside south, Carlsbad, Solana Beach, Del Mar, they all have their own little sections of that fault. In the Rose Canyon, they start to really name it as it goes in onshore here at La Jolla. And if you ever driven through La Jolla, you would see all the mountains and the valleys, and they're really kind of pushed together, condensed, and you can see just in the relief map here all these splays and did I get you? I don't know if I did. I don't know. There's a I don't know. It's a little flying bug in here.
Yeah,
right in my face.
Even the flies are interested in the faults.
Right. Yeah. Dextral fault system through Solana Beach, which is right up in here too. And is North San Diego is in that north right here. There's the Country Club fault in here. The Mission Bay fault is up in here. And then the Northern Mission Bay and the Southern Mission Bay. Then Mount Soledad fault moves through here as well. The Old Town fault, Point Loma fault, and that's from Camino del Rio to the San Diego Harbor, and that's right in here, right through here. And this area here we'll do after just a minute here, because that's 492, 493, 490, and then Point Loma is out here, and that's the green ones right out here. That's a whole separate fault system. That's part of the greater. Then you got the La Nacion fault zone. It's part of it, all of the same system, and they kind of put it together. The Spanish Bight fault is right down there, all in the orange in here. This is all downtown San Diego. Coronado fault's downtown San Diego as well. Silver Strand is a very, very, very long one. It seems that everything is off the Silver Strand fault. And then downtown Graben is to the east. And the Silver Strand continues down to the south. And then we get this little section over here, the La Nacion fault. I don't know if there has been a lot of earthquakes. It seems that all the valleys kind of point to San Diego, because you can drive way back up in here into Bonita and you could still see San Diego. There's like all these hills, Cojones Park and that, all this 94 up here, 125 down here, 54. All of these mountains back here, you can see San Diego in the harbor and where the Marine base is down there and the Navy base. So all of that in the peninsula of San Diego. Coronado is down there. You can see that. That's the big bridge that goes over the top. And so La Nacion is over here. I'm trying to really speed through it. The San Ysidro fault is out here as well. That is the purple. Yeah, purple right up there. I believe is that the one I hear? Or maybe it's this one. I think it's over here, because I'm already talking about the purple at the border west. Okay, so yeah, this one down here. So there's a little section down here that it has its own little fault systems. Yeah, I can't hit it. You have to kind of hit it just right for it to work. But that's what I was spending the time doing, man. The Sweetwater fault is in Chula Vista. That's a little bit right up in here, right up in here. Now we're talking 492 there. The north to south Balboa, right through here. Murphy Canyon fault, north to south. The Balboa to the 8 highway, which is here's the 8 highway. So Balboa, this little fault right here. That's the Murphy Canyon fault. Then we go to this one, and that's the Mission Gorge fault. And then between 8 and 494 is the Florida Canyon fault. This one right here. So it's they got a lot of different names, but in the La Nacion fault system. And I didn't go into Mexico. I just brought you all here. 8 total different sectors that are all part of the greater Newport Inglewood Rose Canyon fault. And there's probably, I don't know, 15, 16 different faults that go along this fault system. And then I'll turn it over to Canuck, and he's going to give you a little more background on the whole system.
Yeah, so what we're going to do next, I'm going to break it down by the Wikipedia articles, and then we'll go into it further like what we did the other episodes. So I'll put that link in, and I'll just read it. It's not very long. So the Newport Inglewood fault is a right lateral strike slip fault. So in Southern California, so same as all the other ones we've been talking about coming west from the San Andreas. And then it extends for 47 miles, 76 kilometers, 110 miles if you include the Rose Canyon segment.
From Culver City all the way south.
Yeah.
To Newport.
Yeah. And then it says it extends southeast into the Pacific Ocean, but we already saw that when Joe showed us on the big map. And it comes back on shore at La Jolla, which we already saw that.
That's La Jolla, yeah.
Yeah, or La Jolla, yeah.
Right down here.
And then,
go ahead.
Yeah, and then once it gets to San Diego, it's the Rose Canyon fault.
Right through here.
Yeah.
And this Rose Canyon, it includes all of these faults.
Yeah. And it says it has a slip rate of approximately 0.6 millimeters, which is 0.024 inches a year, and is predicted to be capable of a Mag 6 to 7.4 magnitude earthquake. The 2017 study concluded that together, those two faults can make a 7.3 or 7.4, which we'll talk about that later when we actually go to the actual study. And what we're going to talk about first is like this next section that's talking about the quakes on it. We'll go into that in more detail, but I'm just going to read it off for right now. The fault was first identified after a magnitude 4.9 earthquake struck Inglewood, California on June 21st, 1920. Due to the lack of earthquake-resistant construction in Southern California at this time, this quake caused considerable damage in the Inglewood area and was a preview of what was to come almost 13 years later, which, of course, is the Long Beach earthquake occurred.
Which was in Huntington Beach, yes.
Yeah, centered along the southern segment of the fault and registering a magnitude 6.4. This quake killed 115 people and was the second most deadly earthquake in California history after the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. 70 schools in the Long Beach and Compton area were destroyed, and an additional 120 were heavily damaged by the quake. Had this tremor struck during school hours, the death toll would have been much higher. Some estimates as high as 1,000. In response to the poor performance of the school structures, the California legislature passed the Field Act in April, mandating earthquake-resistant construction for all new school buildings.
And the old ones, they just tore them down.
Yep. And so now what we're going to do, we're going to go back and talk about that first quake that it mentions there, June 21, 1920. So I'll bring up the next article about that because it goes into super detail, like how far it was felt and all that type of stuff. So I'll copy that one in here.
Welcome, buddy.
Thank you.
We have Luke on for everybody. Everybody needs to know.
Okay, copy.
I'm drinking beer, eating M&Ms.
And it's not super long, so I'll just read it off too. Oh, I gotta scroll
Shake,
back.
rattle, and roll, Inglewood. Earthquake, June 21, 1920.
Yeah, that's the title. All the way back up here to the top of it again. And it shows like the newspaper articles and everything in there too. So I thought that was interesting. So whoever did this wrote it up in, Paul Spitzari, I guess is his name. He wrote it up in June 21st, 2018.
By Homestead Museum.
Yeah. And so it's him describing it. So I'm going to read it. He said, I was not quite 6 years old and only moved to California from Chicago 9 months prior, but I can definitely remember the Sylmar earthquake of early 1971. So he's going to compare this to the other one as he goes down through. Then I lived in the Orange County suburb of Fountain Valley. The tremor was strong enough to scare the wits out of me. For those of us living in earthquake-prone greater Los Angeles, there's a prevailing fear of the big one, that 8 or larger shaker along the San Andreas Fault that would, if not separate our region from the continent, at least cause widespread damage, injury, and death. In fact, there was not been a quake of that size since January 1857, when a massive shaking along the San Andreas hit. The region was sparsely populated, so the loss of life and property damage was relatively light. And then it shows the newspaper article there that they copied into it. Yet, as we've come to learn over the decades, there are a great many smaller faults in our area, and quakes that will register as less intense on the Richter scale can still create immense amounts of damage. One of these faults is the Newport Inglewood, which runs along the coast. It was not known about until an estimate 5 shaker hit at 6:47 p.m. on this date in 1920, centered near Inglewood. And he talks about the article picture that's in there from the paper. Today's post highlights several snapshot photographs of the homestead's collection that document the damage done in that tremor, small as it appears to have been. Of course, destruction will always be greater if the epicenter is closer to the surface. If the geologic structure is conducive to more intensity of movement, and especially so nearly a century ago, if construction standards did not provide much protection in the event of a quake. All of these factors were involved in the 1920 earthquake. And then he talks about the Los Angeles Times reported that there were 2 larger shocks, each lasting just a little more than 10 seconds, and 4 smaller aftershocks. Although the tremors were felt as far away as Ventura and Riverside, almost all of the damage took place in Inglewood, a booming town with lots of unreinforced brick buildings, specifically on Commercial Street, now La Brea Avenue.
La Brea Patriots, baby.
Yeah, the Times stated serious damage was done only in Inglewood, where walls of buildings fell into the streets, plate glass windows were smashed, chimneys crumbled, telephones rendered useless, and half the town was left in darkness. At least one person was reported to have died in Santa Monica. Wow. After Ella Sippy suffered a heart attack while climbing out of a car when the major shock hit. A man in Los Angeles was said to have been hurt when he fell off a ladder. Back in Inglewood, a 2-story hotel and commercial structure was most damaged, and its 250-foot long front wall was completely gone. One couple who resided in the unit on the second floor was home at the time, and Mrs. McDill found herself sitting on a rocker not more than a couple of feet from the edge of the building when the front collapsed. Wow.
Basically, the front peeled away from the building onto the street below.
Yeah.
And the structure, there's a picture of it. Share this tab. Here we go. Here's the structure. She's sitting up here in the front room. There's her bedroom and in a rocker. And the whole 250-foot section of the face of the front, it's all brick, fell off. And it collapsed inside over here a little bit. But there's still the wall or the roof because of the beams. So, yeah. Pretty good in there in 1920. Go ahead.
At the local substation of Southern California Edison, the resident operator and his wife were sound asleep in bed, and though 2 of the sidewalls gave away, the couple were uninjured. Accounts of losses suffered by other commercial structures were provided, and it was said that most residences had some form of damage, often with brick chimneys, while many people were thrown to the ground, especially with the second major tremor. There were no reports of major injuries, much less death. A gas main line ruptured, but no fires broke out, and the line was soon disconnected. The water system was disabled, and residents were warned to conserve water. A guard of 100 men, overseen by the town marshal, were brought in to keep order and assist residents, some of whom slept outdoors for fear of more seismic activity.
And they had some, but it was smaller.
Yeah. And then it talks more about the photos that they have in there. I'll skip down. Another image shows missing fronts of 2 brick commercial structures, one housing a furniture store and a bank, and the other a drugstore, while a wooden front at the corner still stood, though wooden bracing was in place. Bricks are nearly stacked on the side of the road in front of one of the structures, and piles of dirt in the middle of the street may indicate where the gas line was dug up for inspection and repair. And then another view talks...
They didn't have plastic back then. It was metal.
Yeah. A third view shows the impressive neoclassical First National Bank with apparent damage at its front entrance and along the roof, while more dirt is piled in the street in the foreground. Workers with sawhorses at the front and side of the structure are busy at work as well. And then it gives more history down here. It's interesting. A few years ago, a pair of scientists with U.S. Geological Survey published a paper positing the idea that intensive oil drilling, so here we are again, even back then, which had been a major industry in the region for the prior 25 or so years, could have contributed significantly to seismic activity on the Newport Inglewood Fault, leading to the 1920 event. Well, they said the same thing about 33, but well, talk about that.
Enactment of stricter sectors, standards and measures for those people who are, companies are drilling. The area was full of drill derricks. I mean, all of Orange County was drilled to hell. And a lot of part of Los Angeles as well too. They still have some, and they hide them in buildings. Physically put a building around the damn thing because they don't want, and they stink too. Boy, they stink.
Yeah, and the last paragraph there, he says later tremors, including the 1971 Silmar quake and those at Whittier in 87 and Northridge in 94, continued to reveal vulnerabilities with structures, dams, freeways, overpasses, and other elements of our regional infrastructure. Concerns are still very strong about what future seismic activity has in store for our area. So basically, that quake was how they identified Newport Inglewood Fault. So that was in 1920. So you know what I do when I get a date?
Well, you can go to 1928. There's another one.
Yeah,
July.
But I'm just gonna do.
I know you do. Go ahead. Do your thing, buddy.
Do 1920 for now. So what I do with that, of course, I go to 1920 in the Wikipedia list of earthquakes, just to see what was happening, because that's what I do to find out where it comes from. So that's pretty interesting. But they're always interesting. So I'll put that link in so everybody can go to
it. Yep. 42 says, yeah, they were drilling back in the day. Yeah, oh, shiny boy. 42 is young. He's only 42.
Didn't copy. I got to do it again.
Yep. Control C, Control V.
That's what I'm doing, but I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't want to do it.
Sometimes it doesn't want to do it. Yeah, you got to highlight it. And I don't like using the laptop's mouse. They suck. That's why I have a external one. Yeah, that gas line, they can blow up, dude. A lot of that happened up in San Francisco.
Yep. Okay, it's in there now.
All right, so here we go.
So what I always do first, because I know that date because it was in June. So then I look to see what the other big quakes were that year first. So I look in the top magnitudes of that year.
Oh, 6.3, 8.3, 8.2, 8.1. Sheesh, 7.8, 7.3. Okay.
Yeah. And it's always like the same procedure. You'll see all these other.
Rolling.
Man, the Kuril Islands, the Sea of Okhotsk, Argentina and the East Pacific Rise had a 7. All right, so I'll be watching for Argentina 7.3 and East Pacific Rise a 7. Yep. All right.
So
that's on our side. Now on the other side of the world was China, Taiwan, the Loyalty Islands, New Guinea, Russia. Yeah, New Guinea.
So then I look January. I start right at the first month and look at the ones that come up right there. So you got
Mexico, Veracruz, which is on the Gulf of Mexico side, and then Colombia. I don't know where Caca department is.
Yeah,
isn't that the bathroom?
6.0. Yeah. So then I keep going down, and then I see, oh look, PNG in Japan. Well, that's nothing new.
Yeah.
Then I look, oh,
Puerto Rico,
northwest of Puerto Rico, 6.4. So I say, look, there's Texas, Well, not
Texas
Texas,
Liniment.
but the other liniment, Olympic
Yeah.
Walla
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 Walla. Yeah.
extension. So then I
Mhm.
see Georgia. Well, that's in
Oh,
Russia,
that's right.
and then Sea of Okhotsk.
Russia.
Yeah, and then March we run into the Southern East Pacific Rise, and then the
Yeah.
next one that happened the same day.
Oh, 6.4 British Columbia.
Yeah, so it was basically Vancouver Island, Haida Gwaii in between there.
Was that what it was? Okay. You
Yeah.
looked that one up?
Because I went to see exactly where it was. And
Right. Okay. So call it Vancouver, like Haida Gwaii. All right. That's north of Vancouver Island, but
yeah.
All right.
And then I kept going down to the next month, April, and then we got Oaxaca.
Oaxaca. All right. So you have the interior Mexico, then the exterior Mexico, both running sixes, mid sixes, right?
Yep.
All right. Let me see where the Veracruz was 6.3. Yeah. All right. So, and these are guesstimates, by the way. It's 1920. Come on. It's probably a 6.8.
Whatever they're estimating at back with whatever
then.
data they have to do it. And then I looked at May and I said, oh, well, look, it's the whole other opposite sides going crazy.
Sure is. New Guinea, Solomon, Dutch Indies, Banda Sea, Russia.
Yeah.
And
then
Cruz Islands. Yeah, the Dutch. Wow. So Java and Indonesia and PNG were banging hard. The Philippines banged hard. And then Russia. Okay.
Yeah. And then, well, it's the same thing in June, but that's when the
Taiwan
quake happened, right? So that whole other side over there. Yeah, the whole opposite side was going crazy.
18. Okay. The island of Taiwan, together with the Pinghu Islands, became the annexed territory of the Emperor 1995 when.
And where that Taiwan quake was just where we had the big one. It's
really?
Yep. Because I looked that one up before when I was looking up the.
Yeah, it just said 1920 Hualien earthquake.
Yeah, so it was basically the same places where
we just had Central Taiwan. Here, I'll show you. Central Taiwan. All right. And it was just offshore from, I think, didn't we have like a 7 right in that same spot just 2 years ago?
No, it was like this year because it was the second one that happened after the
oh, you're right.
That happened right after Japan.
7.6?
Yeah.
7.6, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember reading about the 1921 when I was looking up the historical quakes for that area. So it just worked out that it was in this list. Well, yeah, everything works out. So it's funny. Oh. So I read about all these ones, and then I say, oh, yeah, same time as this. And I only went that far because I only went back 6 months from there. But there were so many, like, in Mexico and everything that were happening. It all made sense to me. So
okay, go back to July now.
Yeah.
Now we're doing the Yukon Territory in July, a 6. So we got Haida Gwaii in March, and that's a 6.6. Wait, sorry, 6.4. Then in July we have the Yukon Territory, a 6 that went north. Then go to August. Then we got stuff down in South America, Bolivia, Argentina. Yep. Argentina 6.9 and Bolivia 6.5. And then Chile 6.9. Holy, I mean, Argentina, Chile, bang, bang. And Potassi, Bolivia, bang at 6.5. Probably all three were 6.9s. And then the Santa Cruz Islands again, 6.7. So that's on, over by Vanuatu. And that's in August. So our quake that we are talking about, 1920,
was in
June.
Yeah.
And that's the Taiwan and the Dust East Indies are Banda Sea. And that's Indonesia. That was a 6.8, by the way. So Taiwan had an 8.2. And then Banda Sea got a 6.8. Wow.
So that's that one. So Mexico and all that was going crazy earlier that year before it happened in the Newport Inglewood.
Yeah, Band of Seas out here. Hold on, share this tab. Band of Seas out here, and then Taiwan right out here. So bang and bang. And then Yukon Territory way up here in Canada. Here's Yukon Flats, eh? Was it offshore? Was it?
It's kind of in between.
Okay, down here.
Yeah, between Vancouver Island and Haida Gwaii. When I looked
Was it the Yakutat region?
No, it was like between Vancouver Island and Haida Gwaii. So like in the water along there somewhere.
So it was in BC though.
Yeah, but they just refer to it as
the
Western
Yukon.
Canada, BC then.
Yeah.
Oh, the Yukon quake? I don't know. I never looked that one up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's in July.
I just looked up the one.
Southern Utah. See, we had the Haida Gwaii one right here, and then we had this one. So we can see it going bang, bang, and bang, bang up the coast.
Yeah.
And then we got Russia doing its thing, of course. Argentina, again, 6'9", Bolivia, 6'5", and then Chile, 6'9". So after up the north, there's pressure popping down here. Here's Bolivia, Potosi, banging. And then Chile, Araucania, I don't know where the hell that is. Is it, where the hell is it? One of Chile's first 16 administrative divisions. In the north of Catalan's south capital is Temuco. Villarica. All right, so Villarica right here. Valparaiso. Is it Valparaiso? Sorry, I'm gonna look. Villarica. All right. It's right in here, I think. Villarica is in here. There's Valparaiso. I don't think Villarica's down here, is it? That's Valdivia down there. I think it's in the north. Coquimbo's here. Atacampa's here. Tarapaca. I don't know why I always want to sing Tarapaca, Tarapaca. Me. I don't know why I always.
So many different names to find them all.
All right. Yeah, I don't know where this region is. Okay. It's in the south. Right. It's just north of Valdivia. It's right up in here. Araguana, Temuco right there. So this earthquake hit 6.9 down here. So we got a banger down here. We have a banger in Bolivia. And we have a banger in Catamarca, Argentina. And I think that's like right in here. There's Paraguay.
Wasn't there a Colombia one too? I think. Back at the start
at the start, yeah. I don't think we got to it yet. So in September, Italy pumps, Japan, Hokkaido, and the Loyalty Islands came in with a tsunami, caused minor damage, 8.1. So on the other side of the world, after the 8 here in Taiwan, northern Japan popped with an 8 itself, an 8.1. So, or I'm sorry, southeast Hokkaido, 6.5, and then the Loyalty Islands down here, an 8. So 8 here and an 8 down here. All right. China, Xinjiang, Russia, the Kuril Islands, and Taiwan popped again with a 6.4. So the Kuril and then Taiwan again. November, Albania, that's out here. In December, Argentina had a 7.3. China had an 8-3. God, there's 4 8s in that year. Mendoza province is 6. Argentina. Albania again, 5-6. Japan off the coast of Honshu. Honshu is down here. Had a 6-8. And China again, 6-8. So I don't know where the hell that is. Oh, it's way interiorly. And it comes down. It's right up in here. So
to get a 5+ on Newport Inglewood, you need a lot of stuff going on. That's the,
yeah.
the simplified thing of what we're doing with this one. But wait till we get to
What's interesting is
33.
there wasn't anything in the United States other than that quake in 1920 you're talking about. And are we talking 19? Yeah, I think we're talking 19.
Yeah, we're still doing 20.
Yeah. There was a shitload over on the either side of the world. Then South America was banging pretty darn hard. I mean, banging really hard. And up in the Yukon, banging real hard. And I think there was a southern East Pacific rise too. Am I right?
Yeah, that was right before, I think, whatever month it was, April, May. I can't remember.
Yeah, southern East Pacific rise was a 7. I don't know exactly where though, because it doesn't tell us.
No, it doesn't give the.
I bet you it was off South America though. I bet you it was right out here, probably near Easter Islands or something.
Yeah.
All right, so continue, buddy.
So that was tracking where 1920 came from, so that I moved on to the next one, which is the 1933 Long Beach.
All right.
So I'm going to put that article in there.
All right.
Next.
So remember, we're talking about the Inglewood fault. Inglewood fault.
Yeah, the biggest quakes that have been on it, basically.
The one in 1920 happened right up in here. Now we're going to talk about the one that happened right down here. So along that same fault system, but 12 years apart, right? Thereabouts?
Yeah. So I'm just going to read it off because it's it's not super long. So the 1993 Long Beach earthquake took place on March 10th at 5:54 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, south of downtown Los Angeles. The epicenter was offshore, southeast of Long Beach, California, on the Newport Inglewood Fault. The earthquake had a magnitude estimated at 6.4 and a maximum Mercalli intensity of 8, which is severe. Damage to buildings was widespread throughout Southern California. It resulted in 115 to 120 fatalities and an estimated $40 million worth of property damages, equivalent to $941 million in 2023. If it was converted.
That's 900 times. 900 times.
Yeah.
The value from 1933 to 2023. 90 years, 900 times of increase of value. Wow.
Yeah. The majority of the fatalities resulted from people running out of buildings, exposing themselves to the falling debris.
The bricks.
Yeah. So now I'm going to keep reading down where it starts talking about the damage in the next section. So major damage occurred in the densely populated city of Long Beach on the south-facing coast of Los Angeles County. However, the damage was also found in the industrial area south of downtown Los Angeles. An estimated 75,000 cubic miles area was impacted, being felt as far as San Joaquin Valley, Owens Valley, and northern Baja. So that's pretty.
They got it wrong. They got if it's going that far, it's not a 6.4, man. No. The San Joaquin Valley is up here, right? That's the San Joaquin. This is the San Joaquin. This is the Owens Valley up here. Ridgecrest was here. It was a 7-1. We felt it down here, down here on the beach.
Yeah.
Something has to be equivalent to feel. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? Out here. So, anyway.
Yeah, and it says, well, the magnitude of the earthquake is considered medium, but a significant amount of damage occurred due to unfavorable geological conditions. Landfill, water-soaked alluvium combined with poorly constructed buildings. In Long Beach, buildings collapsed, water tanks fell through roofs, and houses were tossed off their foundations. School buildings were among the structures that incurred the most severe damage. So same thing as like 1920. Within seconds, 120 schools within the Long Beach area were damaged, 70 of which were destroyed. It was recognized that unreinforced masonry bearing walls were the reason that school buildings suffered so much damage. On March 20th, 2028, a Los Angeles Times article stated that the 1933 quake changed the landscape, leading to improved school construction standards and a heightened awareness of earthquake risks. Among other buildings, the La Grande Station, the main Los Angeles terminal of the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad was heavily damaged. And so now it's the aftermath section. The earthquake highlighted the need for earthquake-resistant design for structures in California. More than 230 school buildings either were destroyed, suffered major damage, or were judged unsafe to occupy. Casualties would have been much higher had this earthquake occurred a few hours earlier while school was in session. Many schools were permanently closed for a long time due to the buildings being unsafe for inhabitation or not meeting earthquake safety regulations at the time. Since these schools were deemed unsafe, students would report to classes held in tents. Large sums of money were needed to upgrade these damaged school buildings. Only 30 days after the earthquake, Governor James Rolfe Jr. signed the Field Act to govern the planning, design, and construction of public school buildings. The Field Act mandated that buildings designs be based on high-level building standards adopted by the state and enforced by independent plan review and inspection. The plans and specifications must be prepared by competent designers qualified through state registration. A group of local scientists, architects, and builders formed a joint technical committee on earthquake protection to propose ways to minimize loss of life and property in future earthquakes. The committee was chaired by Caltech physicist Robert Millikan and included architects John C. Austin and Sumner Hunt. In June 33, they released a report which advocated for stronger building codes. The Bureau of Public Roads also took action to rebuild roads, highways, and bridges. The economy of Long Beach was able to return to normal swiftly because of the rise of the aircraft industry. To support the World War II efforts, Long Beach created naval yards and increased the number of aircraft produced. This directly helped Long Beach repair and stabilize the economy after the disaster. The earthquake prompted the federal government to play an active role in disaster relief. The government created the Reconstruction Financial Corporation, providing loans for reconstructing buildings that were affected during the natural disaster. The damage to the La Grande Station indirectly led to the construction of the Los Angeles Union Station, which was built on top of what was at that time the Chinatown, Los Angeles. Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. So now,
another interesting note for that is both mine and my wife's grandmothers were in that school, same school at the same time.
No way, Donnie.
Yeah. Didn't know each.
crazy.
I don't know if they knew each other at all, but they had gone home, and later in the afternoon, what is it, between 5 or whatever, the earthquake hit, 1933. So both of them were in high school then. Far out, eh? And my wife goes, "Wait a minute, it's my grandmother, dude." Oh,
That's pretty wild.
yeah. And my wife's parents were all in Long Beach. Mine got out of there, probably as a result of that damn quake. But the epicenter of that quake is just off the street called Brookhurst in Huntington. And the Santa Ana riverbed goes right through here. And it's just north of the Santa Ana riverbed. And the Newland is right there. And, Beach Boulevard comes right down the middle. So it's like from where the Huntington Beach splay comes off of the Newport Inglewood. So that's the corner, that, if you want to call it small triple junction, but that's the sector where it popped. Just wanted to let you know, a little tidbit of information there.
Yeah. So the next section, they talk about what they think the cause of it is. So you're going to guess what the first one is. The 2016 press release by the USGS indicates the research shows that the 1993 Long Beach earthquake may have been man-made, caused by oil and gas extraction.
33.
Yeah, underneath the city.
Uh-huh.
Further studies indicate that several, if not most, earthquakes during the peak years of Los Angeles oil boom were likely caused by tectonic stress induced by methods used at the time, which did not replace the millions of barrels of removed oil with other liquids.
They left cavities, and when the cavities fell, oops. Now they shoot, I think,
wastewater or whatever.
Wastewater or salt water down in there.
Yeah. A study done by the USGS suggests that drilling in a Huntington Beach area caused the 1933 earthquake. Other studies done by the USGS have also indicated that oil drilling may have been responsible for earthquakes in the surrounding areas in the 1920s. Well, we already talked about 1920. This study was done by two scientists that studied early state of drilling records. They found that the epicenters of these earthquakes were located near areas where significant changes occurred in oil production areas. Man-made earthquakes are still an issue, especially in Oklahoma and Texas. Recent studies have shown that the injection of wastewater into the ground increases the occurrence of earthquakes.
All right, so I got a couple pictures here to share with you. All right, so share this tab instead. All right, so here is the drilling in the Los Angeles greater area, Long Beach, Seal Beach, Wilmington, Belmont, and Huntington Beach is right out here. I remember growing up as a kid that when we went to the ocean, because there was so many leaky derricks out there, that you'd always go home with oil stuck to your feet because you play in the water. And get this, look at that picture. Isn't that incredible? That's Huntington Beach, 6 years. Huntington Beach H1 first produced oil in 1920. That's on the bluffs of Huntington Beach. You see how close they are? All those derricks, as far as you can see. And they're still pulling oil out of there. Yeah, the floating tar pits. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy having to, go home and scrub your feet with, gasoline, That picture is 1926. So you can imagine just 5 years later, 6 years later, whatever, 33, 4 and 3, 7 years later. Isn't that crazy, man?
Yeah, it's wild. So now there's only 2 paragraphs left to read on that now.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, within the Los Angeles depositional basin, northwest trending groups of faulted anticlines were viewed to be caused by oil and gas extraction underneath the city. The extraction of oil and gas produces salty water, adding stress to faults, causing earthquakes. Often wastewater and natural gas production will increase the magnitude of the earthquake, making them even more dangerous. And then the final paragraph, the Newport Inglewood Fault, the source of the 1933 earthquake, is a right lateral strike slip fault trending northwest southeast and parallel to other major right lateral faults in California. The fault spans about 46 miles onshore from Culver City to Newport Beach, where it enters the Pacific Ocean. This fault is expected to produce an earthquake of magnitude 7.4. The 1933, I keep wanting to say 93 for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 1933 Long Beach earthquake was only a magnitude of about 6.4, approximately 10 times less vibration amplitude and 1,000 times less energy release than that of a 7.4 earthquake. So I thought it was interesting they put that in at the end.
Yeah, I'm looking for to help us understand what an anticline is.
Yeah, the anticline is where the thrust faults are.
Right. And an anticline is an uplift. Here, let me share this tab. Okay. An anticline is an uplift, and then a syncline is a down fault. All right.
Yep.
So the ups and downs. So he was saying the anticlines are the uplifts from, what was it? These faults are the anticlines, and then in between are the synclines.
Yeah.
Is that what it said?
Yeah, basically where the anticlines are is where it lifts up the pockets of the oil so you can get it. So, but we'll get into that more when we do Hunting Beach. And
yeah,
right.
We're going to get into that pretty deep. So far we've talked about the 1920, which was up here in the upper portion or the northern portion of the Newport Inglewood Fault. Now we've talked about the northern and central Orange County, but it's still the central part of the Newport Inglewood Fault. And I don't know if you have anything left to go either.
Yeah, because we're going to see. Yeah, we're going to see where that came
northern
from.
And then central, and then
we'll do Rose Canyon too when we get to it. But right now we're going to see where this quake came from.
Okay, 1933.
Yep,
I got it. All right, share this.
You got it already?
Oh, how about it? I'm on it. So by magnitudes, Japan had an 8.4.
Yeah.
Sumatra, Dutch East Indies, had a 7.6. That's the northern Indonesia. Okay. Sandwich Islands had a 7.5. Canada, Baffin Bay, that's on the other side. That's the Canuck side. Yeah. That had a 7.4. Sichuan province of Canada had a 7.3. Chile, Tarapaca, central Chile, had a 7.2. Japan, Honshu, another 7.2, an 8.4 and a 7.2. Then the southwest Indian Ridge, which is between Africa and South America. No, between Africa and Indonesia. Sorry.
Yeah.
And Fiji had a couple of big quakes. And then Argentina had a 7. So on our side, we had a 7. Canada had a 7.4 on that other side of the North American plate. And Japan popped twice, an 8.4 and a 7.2. So I don't see any other tie for the large ones now. Now
we got to do the first 3 months because
yeah. Violent, the 6 was a 9 violent. So 6.4
Holy.
in 1933. They considered that a 9 violent, the 6.4 Long Beach quake. So starting in January, Fiji, Kenai Peninsula, Alaska had a 6.4. That's up north.
Yep.
Japan had a couple of 6s. Mexico, Michoacan, that's
6.2.
next, just north of Acapulco, right? 6.2. I want to make sure. Michoacan is next to Colima. Sorry. And there's Acapulco down here. Hold on. Sorry. Acapulco's down here. Michoacan is right here. And then Colima and Guadalajara. All right. So off the coast, central Sierra Madres, we have a 6.2. The Kenai Peninsula, that's out here. All right. 6.4. 2 6s. What's in the middle? Yeah. Somewhere up in here. All right. But anyway, let's continue. February, Chile popped. Tarapaca, Chile. Santiago, Concepcion, and Tarapaca, I think is up in here. I don't remember.
Yeah.
All right. So Tarapaca popped. Then we go to March. Japan had the 8.4, the 6.5, 6.4, 6.3, 6.0, 6.0. And then they're calling it Newport Beach, but it's 1933 Long Beach. It was in Huntington Beach.
Yeah. So there it is. So there's all sorts of crazy stuff. Now, I only went to there because I wanted to go back further.
Go backwards? All right. You want to go back 32?
Yeah. So when you look up 32, you're going to find all sorts of crazy stuff. So 32.
Okay. So we're going back to 32.
Yeah.
Here we go. Jalisco, 8.1. Holy smokes.
Wow.
And a 7.7.
Dang.
Wow. That's the Guadalajara region. And that happened. Wow. Yeah, Jalisco, and those are the big ones.
Yeah.
And then El Salvador popped with a 7.1 as well that year. Colima, 7.8. Jalisco and Colima. Holy smokes.
It's wild. I already knew about those because I'd studied them before, but so I knew what year they were in before I went to them. I said, oh, well, here
1933 had 3 huge quakes right there. What we just were talking about up here in Mexico, right? Jalisco's right here. Colima's right here. Michoacan is right there, which happens next year. So that whole region, banging.
Yeah, well, just wait when you go down through by month because it'll be more
January. All New Guinea and Peru had a 6.8. Lima region. All right, that's the largest it gets. Lima's right here. Somehow Lima doesn't really go big, but everything on the other side does. Cuba. All right. 6.7 in Cuba. So it went from Lima to Cuba, and then a 6 in Gulf of California.
Yeah.
Didn't say where. Alaska, couples. Doesn't say where. God, I wish it did. 4 shock and then a shock. A 6 and a 6.8. So we got Lima, Cuba, Alaska.
There was Venezuela in there too, 6.8.
Yeah, 6.8 Venezuela. Venezuela right in there, right on this side. So that makes sense for me on a Cuba, Venezuela, because that's the Caribbean plate, plate, banging from Lima, Peru, bang, bang, or bang, bang, and then up here, bang, bang. All right. Now we go to April. The Isuzu Islands doing its thing. Sumatra, Chile, 6.5. So it went from Lima down to Chile, Antofagasta, right up in here. Then we go to May, Japan again, and Molucca, which is all Hanamahara. Sulawesi, Hanamahara, bang with a whole bunch of 6s and 7s. El Salvador popped with a 7.1.
Yeah.
So Peru, Cuba, Venezuela. Yeah, see, the whole Caribbean plate moved. And Guatemala right there too, a 6.
Yep.
So that thing's moving. This thing moved these guys. Bing, ding, 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 ding. Now we get into June. Jalisco.
Which are the crazy quakes.
Jalisco, 8.1. Jalisco, 6.0. Jalisco, 6.2. Northern Cal came in with a 6.4 in Eureka. All right, that's at the Mendocino plate. All right. So that Caribbean plate shoved it.
Upset the apple cart.
It sure did, because Mexico banged hard. And Cuba did the 6.0 south of Cuba. Okay, it's not Cuba, it's south of Cuba. That's Port-au-Prince down here. Haiti, maybe. All right, south of Cuba. That's still the plate boundary. Goes right between Cuba and Haiti.
Or it could be Cayman Islands or whatever too.
Then we had a six out in Alaska. And then Chile, Tarapaca is the 6.2. Then Colima bangs off. And then back to Oaxaca, and then Jalisco again. What the? Bang, bang, bang.
Going like crazy.
Oh, man, you know the chicken leg's moving there, boy. It's going to kick that chicken leg. Yeah. Jalisco 7.7. And Oaxaca 6. Colima 7.8. Jalisco 6.2 and a 6.0 and 8.1. All in the same month. Wow. Yeah. The 32 earthquakes of Jalisco caused over 400 homes to collapse. A tsunami was generated, which caused 75 deaths and 100 injuries. So it was offshore.
Yeah.
Wow. Or just barely onshore. Then we go to July. Gulf of California, 6.8. Oh. Gulf of Cali, 6.7. That power is moving north, baby. Off the coast of Colima again, another 6.8. Chile, way down Arica y Parincotta regions, way in the south. So it's spreading out. It went from Lima down south. And then the Caribbean. You know the Caribbean plate, if it's banging hard, watch out in Mexico. Gosh. August. Fox Islands way out here. Way out here. Fox Islands, rat's ass. Been the Yellow Sea. That's way over there too. Way out of our way. Peru, we're talking in September. Peru dumps a 6 and another Colima 6.2. Southern Alaska 6.3. Back over here. Curals over there. Then we go to October. Nicaragua, 6-7. Back down here, right? Nicaragua, right down here, the central part of the Caribbean plate. Alaska pops at a 6-6. Alaska, 6-3. What the heck is going on in Alaska? So down here is pushing way up north. November. Chile, Antofagasta, 6. Jalisco, 6-2. Chile, Valparaiso, 6-6. These are pretty good quakes too. Colima, the next day, December, 6-6. Peru, Ica region, that's in the south, I think, 6-5. Nevada pops at a 6.8 in 1932. Nevada, right up in here, 6.8. Cedar Mountain earthquake was the strongest earthquake to hit Nevada since 1915. Some damages caused, however, no deaths were reported. The 1915 was right around when Lassen popped, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was all the same time.
Right.
So that was a lot of stuff going on in 32 to make the Long Beach quake.
Yeah, maybe they got it wrong. I mean, I'm thinking they got that wrong, that on the size. You know, I don't know. So in 33, let's start at the beginning. January coming in. Kenai Peninsula, which is central Alaska again. You know, Alaska's been banging back in 32. Now we're in 33. Mexico, Michoacan, which is right down here. We got Colima and Jalisco banging. And we got Oaxaca banging. Now in the middle again, banging. We have Nicaragua banging, and San Salvador banging. El Salvador. We got Cuba banging all last year, and we got Venezuela banging, and then we got Peru, and then always down south in the south there. Chile again, a 7-2 down in Chile. Tarapaca. March. Japan goes apeshit, just complete apeshit. And then the 1933 banger in Southern Cal. It takes a bit for pressure to reach Southern Cal. It's compressional. So can we deduce, by looking at this year, we're going to continue in just a minute, what the result, where that pressure it dispersed. We have off Cuba, on the Caribbean plate, banging hard. Off Mexico, the northern part of the Mexican trench, hitting super hard. We have in the Gulf of California, 2 big quakes. Alaska just going ape turd. And Northern Cal popped once. And now Los Angeles goes boom. What led up to that? That's insane, no?
Yeah, and when I was researching 32, there's another interesting thing that happened.
Go ahead, 32.
So I'm going to put that in there.
All right.
Did it copy? Control V. Yeah.
Eden's on it.
Yep.
The Matilla fire was a major wildfire that burned 220,000 acres in the Santa Barbara National Forest, now the Los Padres National Forest of Southern Cal. During the autumn of 1932, the fire was named Matilla Creek for where it was located. Probably somebody's campfire burned up. In the autumn, Southern Cal burns in autumn, everybody. Northern Ventura, okay? Northern Ventura. With the possible exception of Santiago Canyon fire, which is in Orange County, 1889, which occurred before the state official record began to keep. It was the largest known wildfire in California history until the 2003 Cedar Fire. The Mattia Fire is currently the 8th largest in state's modern history. Now remember the Santiago Canyon Fire, which they had silver up in the Santiago Canyon. Do you remember, well, it was a few years back. Actually, this last one, the Line Fire. The Line Fire went south. If it would have went north, it would have burned Santiago Canyon again.
Yeah.
Okay, because Santiago Canyon is at the base of Santiago and what's the other mountain? I forget it. Forget about it. In that area, it's very rugged, and there's a lot of homes up in there. I had some friends that live up there. We used to go up there quite a bit. It's where I used to howl at the moon, if you remember those stories I told you.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, so I just thought that was interesting because that was after all the crazy Kalima quakes happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they started.
And is it in 1930? Most of the area burned. A Mattia fire was not seen a major fire since at least 1911 in that area. The area had been experiencing severe drought conditions for 2 years prior to 32. This had resulted in major buildup of dry fuels in chaparral, which are typically burns every 10 to 15 years. Oh, yeah, it burns all the time. I don't know what it is about chaparral, but it just pops. I think the temperature gets to about 105, bam, starts a fire. I don't know what happened. I think it self-combusts. 1932 fire season had been relatively quiet for Santa Barbara National Forest. At 10 a.m. local time, September 7th, smoke was spotted in the Locombre Lookout, rising as from the North Fork of Mattia Creek, north of Ojai. Ojai District Ranger ordered a fire crew to make preparations while he traveled out to advance and look at the fire. It took 2 hours to reach the fire, by which time it expanded to 300 acres. Although the cause of the fire remains uncertain, it may have been started by a hunter's campfire and exploded tank of butane gas. Yeah, it was his campfire.
Okay, now on to Rose Canyon.
All right.
Oh, we're going to do that next, so I'm going to put in the wiki for that one.
All righty.
But for this one, we're only going to do one historical quake, so hopefully it won't take us too long.
Okay, we're going to Rose Canyon. And that's in San Diego area, am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. Rose Canyon actually comes from San Onofre all the way down, but the main part is La Jolla and south through Mission Bay, and then also the San Diego Marina, Coronado. Rose Canyon. All right, share this one instead. The Rose Canyon Fault is a right lateral strike slip fault that runs in a north-south direction off the coast of San Diego County until it comes ashore near this downtown San Diego. The fault is linked to the Newport Inglewood Fault Zone in the north and is either the Agua Blanco Fault or the San Miguel Vallecentos's Fault Zone in the south. Either one echelon steps over each other. The conservative estimate of the fault placed the length of about 19 to 31 miles, while interpretations include the Newport Inglewood Fault Zone placed the length of it 110 miles when you add it all together. There are not many earthquakes associated with the fault. However, a magnitude 6 to 6.5 may strike the fault in 1862. The fault runs very near to the populated areas of when offshore, hence is the high potential for infrequent, large, and damaging earthquakes. The tectonic setting lies along the SoCal lies along the transform boundary between the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate, faulting taken up by three main groups of faults: San Andreas, the East California Shear Zone, which we're going to talk about next week, everybody, and the California Continental Borderland. I never heard of that one. The San Andreas system take up about 85% of deformation, while the CCB, or the California Continental Borderline, accommodates the rest. The CCB is itself split into inner ICB and outer continental borderlines. The ICB takes up an average of about a third of an inch a year. The plate boundary slip, with Rose Canyon Fault being one of its most hazardous faults in the ICB, or the intercontinental borderland. I don't know. It's still east of the. Well, I don't know what they say. It's not continental.
Yeah, well, I'll explain what those terms mean later when we do the other offshore faults, because they include them in all these.
Yeah,
these other terms they're coming up with. Because once you get into the ones that are partially offshore, they say they're a part of those systems that they're talking about.
Yeah, San Clemente Fault, San Diego Trough. Yeah, we're going to talk about all those things here next time around. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the fault characteristics: right lateral strike slip fault extends 30 to 50 kilometers, 90 to 31 miles, and slips at a rate of 1.1 to 2 millimeters and whatever in inches. The fault begins in the San Diego Bay, then runs through how'd you say it again?
La Jolla?
Yeah, La Jolla.
Yeah. J is an H in Spanish.
Yeah.
La Jolla, and then two L's together, always a Y sounding.
Yeah. Before running offshore, extends north, paralleling the coastline before connecting with the Newport Inglewood Fault via short echelon stepovers. Yeah. And the two faults together extend to 170 kilometers, 110 miles.
Right. That's all the way from Hollywood Fault all the way to San Diego, 110 miles.
Yeah. So the southern terminus of the Rose Canyon Fault Zone has not been conclusively determined and is considered to connect to the Descanso and Agua Blanca faults and or San Miguel Vallecillos fault zone. Researchers have suggested that both of these faults may transfer slip to Rose Canyon Fault via San Diego Bay stepovers. However, no clear connection has been determined, but we'll talk about the new 2024 study after we get done doing a few more things. Around the San Diego Bay, the fault splays out into many different strands, such as the Silver Strand and the Spanish Bight faults. Some of these splay faults come very close to Descanso Fault, which in turn links with Agua Blanca Fault. This leads certain researchers to consider these faults interconnected as one major fault zone. The Newport, Inglewood, Rose Canyon, Descanso, Agua Blanca Fault Zone. Oh, that's quite the name. Others favor
Vallecetos. Yeah. Miguel Vallecetos is right through Tijuana toward San Felipe.
Yeah.
In a Sierra Juarez Fault comes out of Laguna Salada down south. You can see it on them. Wait, can it share this tab? All right. So what he's saying is up here in at Newport Inglewood Fault Zone, it hits San Diego, and that's what he's talking about, Rose Canyon. Rose Canyon, they don't know where it really goes because it gets into the underground. It's invisible. And the Coronado Bank Fault Zone reaches the Agua Blanca fracture fault zone, which what I often call from the San Miguel, that's what I call from TJ over to San Felipe crack. That's the San Miguel Vallecitos. Okay. There is the Tres Hermanos Fault and the Coronado Bank Fault Zone, Agua Blanco, San Diego Trough, they all kind of lean right into that same San Felipe. It's funny how everything makes that left-hand turn and then goes north.
Yeah.
And then San Clemente goes way offshore. San Pedro Mateer Fault Zone is way down south. So it's very, very, very interesting how these things, the Agua Blanco, goes right into the down here into the bay or the Delta. Delta's like right over here. It's San Diego's up where it says Trembler, way up there. Tres Hermanos, Three Brothers, right? Then the Rincon, and then you got San Miguel up here. This one leads right into that. San Felipe crosses that, and it is an item. All right, so don't think it's not an item, because share this tab. San Felipe is right down. I mean, yes, right here on this point, and if you draw it over, it goes right into San Diego, and you can see how all these things kind of northwest to southeast or almost due west, and then all of a sudden, bam, go straight north. And that's kind of what he's talking about. The San Miguel Vallecitos Fault Zone and the Rose Canyon turns into it. And Descanso Fault and Agua Blanco faults, all in that kind of east or from west toward east, southeast, crossing Baja. And it's another one of those things that in studying these things, you see how all that energy comes off of the East Pacific Rise, which is inside the Gulf of California, crosses through San Felipe, goes up the coast, up the 3 or 4 main faults, as well as it goes in through the Imperial Fault into the San Andreas and the San Jacinto and Elsinore faults, and how all these faults are playing, how that southern part of California and the Baja California is slowly sliding north. And that's what I call the chicken leg. And there's mechanisms you can see, weight or energy crossing through often into the faults of the Rose Canyon and Newport Inglewood and all those faults. So it's no joke. They don't happen a whole lot offshore. We've only been here in LA since the 1600s. We just don't know what happened 500 years ago, 600 years ago, 700 years, 900 years ago. We just don't know. But if they look at the San Jacinto fault, I think what they've showed is that sucker has gone off huge, but it takes 500, 600, 700 years, just like the San Andreas. And so you can't rule out what's offshore. Yeah, it popped a little 6.4, maybe a 7. Okay. But that's over 100 years ago. Watching the energy down in Mexico, there's a reason why we watch Colima, we watch Jalisco, we watch Oaxaca, and even into Peru and Ecuador and Colombia and Venezuela, and we watch the Caribbean plate. We often pay quite a lot of attention to these because of what you see here, what we've experienced here, and what have we been illuminated to a lot of people now, what's going on in the historical record of the Newport Inglewood fault. And I think, we're an hour and 44. How are we doing time-wise?
Good, because we just got to read the last
continue.
2 paragraphs here, and then I'll talk about the 1862 quake.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah, so it shouldn't take us too much longer to finish this one off.
Uh-huh.
The Rose Canyon Fault has little associated historic seismicity. However, a magnitude 6.0 6 to 6.5 earthquake in 1862 is often attributed to it. The shock was assigned a modified Mercalli intensity shaking of 7, very strong. Shaking was widespread and felt in Los Angeles, over 100 miles away. However, due to the lack of reports in the area, it is not possible to guarantee that the earthquake occurred on the Rose Canyon Fault. Trenching of the fault reveals multiple ruptures within the past 8,100 years, including a rupture that occurred between 300 years to shortly before the San Diego mission was established. Some of these historic ruptures have an estimated magnitude of 7 to 7.3. So now the future hazard section, the Rose Canyon Fault
San
Zone.
Diego mission was built in 1769.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the Rose Canyon Fault Zone can produce large earthquakes, which can be very destructive due to its proximity to major population centers in Southern California. On the fault, earthquakes nearing magnitude 7 have a recurrence interval about 700 plus or minus 400.
So that means between 300 and 1100 years.
Yeah.
They have a major magnitude 7 along this fault.
Yeah. So scenarios
and 2,000 years. So you hear what I'm saying?
Wide range.
Yeah, he says on the fault, earthquake nearing magnitude 7s have reoccurrence intervals between 7 to 400 or 300 to 1100 years and 2,000 years. So there's a 2 tracks running. Scenarios modeling 6.9 earthquake predict peak ground acceleration will reach 55 Gs in San Diego and 35 Gs in Tijuana. Downtown San Diego and Mission Bay will experience liquefaction, while Mount Soledad, which remember there's a fault on Mount Soledad, may experience landslides. Coastal areas such as La Jolla and Point Loma may experience localized coastal bluff failures, landslides into the ocean. Submarine canyons may have landslides which trigger tsunamis. Other studies link the Rose Canyon Fault to Newport Inglewood and combine the fault capacity 7.3 to 7.4 in totality. Remember, we've just learned over the past months, and geologists now over the past few years, they didn't believe it before, now they believe it, that one fault can kick off another fault, and that acceleration and that power of an earthquake can even go straight going one way and all of a sudden make a right-hand turn and go another way. That was Ridgecrest. Ridgecrest shocked them. A 6.5 and all of a sudden a 7.1. Bam, bam. They're like, what? Because back in the day, they didn't have the technology to really figure these things out. So he's going to talk about now 1862. Or did you already do it?
Yeah, I'm going to put more details on it there right now because the USGS actually has a blurb on it. So they've actually tried to figure out where it was. And
right. 6.2, Greater San Diego area.
Yeah. So you can read it or I can read it. Doesn't matter.
The strong earthquake caused widespread minor damage to the old town of La Playa, area of San Diego. It's a little bit in the north. Many adobe and brick buildings sustained cracks, some of which extended completely through the walls. In some frame buildings, windows and doors were loosened from their frames, and the door hinges were broken off. Landslides occurred along the steep bluffs of La Playa and Point Loma. At La Playa, cracks formed in the beach, and water was emitted from the sand on the tidal flats. Water in the bay surged inland over a beach between 3 and 4 feet. That's a tsunami. Cracks also formed in wet, sandy ground area near liquefaction, washed over its banks. The earthquake was felt north to Anaheim, that's up in Orange County, and to Los Angeles, which is Los Angeles County, 100 miles away. About 100 aftershocks occurred in San Diego, June 14th, 1862. All right? That's pretty insane. It's a mercantile intensity of a 7. So that's an estimate. Remember, they didn't have a whole lot of reports on this stuff, especially in 1862. So they just had the missions. They just, Anaheim was around. Anaheim is the Orange County kind of the hub of Orange County. 1862. I think that's actually before Riverside and before San Bernardino. Cities became incorporated. So, yeah, it's LA expanding outward, and the oil rush, right? And the fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. So then once I got that quake date, well, guess what I do?
What year?
1862, but you're not going to find a Wikipedia article because once it hits 1900, you got to go dig more. Anything below that, you have to dig more. So I started looking up stuff in 1862. So I just did a search for that. So the first thing I found, I'm going to copy in there, and you'll be excited once I get it.
Yeah, we're talking about an earthquake that hit this sector, San Diego. There's La Jolla. La Jolla's right here.
Didn't copy. I got to do it again.
This is La Jolla, and La Playa is right down in here too. It's very beautiful down there, by the way. Great weather. Little humid, but it's great weather. Oh boy. All right. Share this tab. The Great Flood of 1862 was the largest flood in recorded history of California, Oregon, and Nevada, inundating the western United States, portions of British Columbia, and Mexico. It was preceded by weeks of continuous rains and snows that began in Oregon November 1861 and continued into January of 1862. This was followed by a record amount of rain from January 9th to January 12th and contributed to a flood that extended from the Columbia River southward into western Oregon and through California to San Diego, as well as extending as far inland as the Washington Territory, now Idaho, the Utah Territory, now Nevada and Utah, and the western New Mexico Territory, called Arizona. The event dumped an equivalent of 10 feet of water in California. Oh my land.
It's wild when I started reading about it.
In the form of rain and snow over a period of 43 days. Immense snowfalls in the mountains as far west of North America caused more flooding in Idaho, Arizona, New Mexico, as well as Baja California and Sonora, Mexico. The following spring and summer, as the snow melted, the event was capped by an intense warm storm that melted the heavy snow load and accumulated during the earlier storms. The resulting snow melt flooded valleys, inundating or swept away towns, mills, dams, and flumes, houses, fences, and domestic animals, and ruined fields. It has been described as the worst disaster ever to strike in California. The storms caused an estimated $100 million, $1861, in damage, roughly equal to $3 billion in 2021. The governor's state legislature, state employees were not paid for that year and a half. At least 4,000 people were estimated to have been killed in the floods of California, which is roughly 1% of the state population at the time.
Yep.
There were more people than that. They're just the ones that they can figure out because they get buried. The background is the weather pattern cause of floods was not from an El Nino type event. From existing Army and private weather records, it has been determined that the polar jet stream was to the north because the Pacific Northwest experienced a mild rainy pattern for the first half of December 1861, which we know differently because things happen. In 2012, hydrologists and meteorologists concluded that precipitation was likely caused by a series of atmospheric rivers, which is El Nino, to hit the western United States along the entire west coast, from Oregon to southern Cal. An atmospheric river is windborne, and it comes out of Hawaii area, right? Deep layer of water vapor that with the origins in the tropics, extending from the surface at high altitude, often above 10,000 feet, and concentrated into a relatively narrow band, typically of 400 to 600 kilometers, 250 miles, usually running ahead of a frontal boundary and merging into it. Within the right dynamics, a place to provide lift, an atmospheric river can produce an astonishing amount of precipitation, especially if it stalls over an area for any length of time, which it did. The floods followed a 20-year-long drought. Well, there's your floods. If there's a drought, the ground is really dry, and you know what? It doesn't soak the ground. It doesn't soak water because it's so dry. It gets hard and like iron. During the November prior to the flooding, Oregon had steadily been heavier than normal rainfall with heavier snow in the mountains. Researchers believe the jet stream had slipped south, accompanied by a freezing conditions reported Oregon stations by December 25th. Heavy rainfall began falling in California as long wave trough moved south over the state, remaining there until the end of January 1862, causing precipitation to fall everywhere in the state in nearly 40 days. Eventually, the trough moved even further south, causing snow to fall in the Central Valley and surrounding mountains ranges, 15 feet of snow in the Sierra Nevadas. We just went through that, not this, was it last winter? The winter before, right? And then this last winter was pretty good.
Yeah.
In California
Yeah,
and Nevada.
you guys.
Say it again?
It was the winter before with you guys where they got like 15 feet of snow.
Right. And that doesn't happen all the time. But what happened was that jet stream fell south. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen during the El Niños. And what we've learned is as everything moves north often, and it goes into the Pacific Northwest, the cutoff lows that just keep coming down the south, that happens during El Niños. And it's like, damn, here comes another one. Southern Cal gets a bunch of rain. And, oh, here comes another one. Southern Cal gets a bunch of rain. I remember in the mid-'70s, it rained, like 45 days straight. I thought, when I was a kid, I said, where's Noah? Because, 40 days and 40 nights, right? Literally, it rained that much in the early 70s. And well, you know what? I don't think it was in 71, but it was right around that time period. Because I was in school. I don't know, first grade. 71, I was in first grade. So, I don't know. Maybe 73. I don't know when it was in that area, but I'd never seen so much rain. And still today. And we had electrical storms. Oh my God. Yeah. Yep. I think it was in 71, somewhere back in there. Because I remember moving from the Los Angeles County or the northern part of Orange County down into where I lived when I was a kid. And I remember the 71 Selma earthquake, watching the tile in my front room explode. I was like, and literally it just popped straight up out of the ground. And watching that one side, one foot was on one side, one foot was on the other. And kind of like those elliptical bicycles, where the pedals move and then the hands move at the same time, but opposite. That's what it was like. It was a trip. And it acted independently, man. So the impact in Oregon, you want to read that one, or you just want to?
No, it's just we'll continue on because I looked up quakes for that year too. So I couldn't find any big ones that were notable in Mexico, but I did find two in Central America. There was a big one in Guatemala, and the other one was in El Salvador, and they think they were like between 6 and 7 in 1862. One was in April, and one was in December of that same year. But I never went any further than that because it's way harder to find stuff. So the farther you go back into the 1800s.
Right. What's interesting is they talk about a month of rain in 1862. 43 days, right? A little over a month. And the whole entire west coast from Canada south into Mexico got pounded during that time period.
Oh, and what Eden said about Hawaii was popping off. Well, I know it was going crazy in 1868, so that would have been 6 years later. Yeah, Hawaii was, because 1868 is when it had the big earthquake, 7.9, and that was the Hayward fault year, the Erica Peru quake, and both Kilauea and Mauna Loa both erupted in 1868.
I wonder if there was any bigger eruptions in 1860, 1861.
Probably.
I wonder if we can look that one up. Huh?
You'd have to dig to find it, or find a list of all the big eruptions that are whatever every year. There is a list like that because I've seen it before. It's like all the VEI level eruptions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's the VEI level eruption list by year.
What year are we working at? 18?
Well, it would be like 1861 or
all right,
62. Well, actually, you might have to go back further.
Well, Tambora was 1815.
Yeah. Because
and Krakatoa was, what year was Krakatoa? 1883.
Yeah. So that
1883.
So you probably have to look.
Mauna Loa was 1880.
Yeah, you'd have to look up like 18.
Yeah,
61.
Yeah.
That time period, probably.
Yeah. I'm looking.
Because there is a VEI level eruption list, because I remember seeing it before.
Right.
Which are the really big eruptions.
Right. VEI eruption list. Volcanically explosive eruption list. All right.
It's by year or whatever.
Yeah.
Going back so far.
All right. Let me see what we can see here.
I just can't think of any off the top of my head.
Let's see. All right. 1883. Yeah, it goes on 1822, 1835, 1854. Shabalush. 1875. Askja. All right. So
it jumped. How much years then?
Yeah. So Shabalush was not a very big one. It was a 5, VEI 5. 1843, Mount Agong was a 5. 1835 was Cosingua, Nicaragua was a 5. And Gulung, Java was a 5. But Tambora, I wonder, 50 years, can it create that much havoc?
Oh, it says there's a big 1861 eruption in Italy. But I don't know which. Oh, guess what it was? Vesuvius.
Oh.
So Vesuvius blew up in 1861.
Yeah, December 8th, 1861, forming a spectacular fracture of lower flank. Yeah, eruption of Vesuvius here. Well, 1861, it erupted 1850. Well, shoot, howdy.
It blew up in 1862, it says. So that's interesting. So it's going crazy those 2 years.
1840? Is this only, this list I got is Vesuvio. Okay, Vesuvius. Vesuvius erupted 1824, 1835, 1841, 1854, 1855, 1858, 1861, 1864, 1870, 1875, 78. It was erupting for a while.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And then it stopped in 1906 and didn't erupt till 1944. Well, 13 to 1944, but it isn't doing anything now, right?
No. Oh.
So it hasn't done anything since 1944. But
well, it said Mount St. Helens was around then too. Looks like 1859, 1860. Mount Baker might have erupted in 1864, they said. So that was under the... Because I typed in 1860 and 61 eruptions, and I just wanted to see what would come up.
Probably Kamchatka, something over on that side of, Japan. Something up in the North Pacific. Yeah, I would think something up in the North Pacific, maybe even a Hawaii or something up there. Yeah, I'm going to keep this one. This is pretty
well,
good.
I see another thing there that from the USGS that said maybe it was Mount Baker that erupted in 1860.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, see,
I don't know for sure.
The reason why we're looking up these volcanoes, and we're looking at weather, and we're looking up everything is because they all have an interplay. One way or another, they interplay with each other. Now, that's the growing theory that we're working on. We're trying to think outside the box and say, well, whatever. You guys are wackadoodles. You know what? Shut up. Because our evidence is showing us, and it's anecdotal evidence. It's not like concrete, like, yeah, this created that. But this storm, this 1862 flood, look what just happened down in, Hunga Tonga Happy Eye.
Yeah.
That was the biggest explosion since Krakatoa to throw that much water vapor up in the air. Could there have been something in the Northern Pacific, somewhere off of Japan, somewhere off of Kamchatka, the Kurils, to do that same kind of thing that would increase the amount of precipitation up in the atmosphere? And it's very well that could have happened. It doesn't have to be an El Nino, but if that much precipitation is up there, this is pretty scary. This 1862 flood. That is pretty damn scary, to tell you the truth.
Yep. So it's wild stuff. Now, the only thing I'll mention, I'm not going to go into it super detail, is that there's a new study that just came out from 2024 saying that the San Miguel Vallecito's fault is connected to Rose Canyon in Newport Inglewood. So based upon the stuff that they've done, which is all the new bathymetry and tomography and all this other stuff that they're doing for it, they say that that's most likely connected. And there's been sixes on that fault back between 54 and 56, which just happens to be about the same time the Palos Verdes slide started happening. So I thought that was interesting. Until his very last... Oh, now my phone's trying to play stuff.
Always. Happens every time. That just to tell us that close it up, sons. Okay, dude.
Yeah.
We're 2 hours and 8 minutes into this one on YouTube, on Rumble, and Facebook. I think Facebook only allows an hour, but I don't know. It's uploaded 90% of the chance, so I'm going to wait it out. But for y'all out there in YouTube, thank you for your tips, your subscriptions. Make sure you hit the bell, like and follow, and share the video. If you're on Rumble, do the same. You know what to do out there on Rumble. And your help keeps these things going. And I think this one was a really good one, really informative. Tried not to put too much
stuff in there.
Yeah, because there's a lot of. It's a huge undertaking, man. I broke it down at 8 sectors, and pretty insane. And we got right into it too, so we didn't play around. This was a good one, man. This was a good one, like the other ones have been. And I appreciate you, Luke. Thanks for coming in and trying to help. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything you'd like to add? You want to sum up, or what you thought was something that kind of stood out to you?
Well, just all the crazy stuff that was happening. Same thing. When we looked up all those years of the quakes, it's the same pattern every time. It's just wild.
Hey, Luke, you?
Yeah, it's funny to see the patterns develop, as we're going back in time,
Does history repeat itself? That's the question we're having.
I would say a lot of times it does. Just you got to figure out the pattern on when it's going to repeat.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 main faults from the San Andreas, counting the San Andreas, going westward is what we're trying to talk about here. And that's, south of Garlock, okay? And the eastern shear zone we're going to talk about here in a couple of weeks. Yeah, but we still have
a few more to do off the coast. Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have at least one other show off the coast, 2 from Los Angeles south. And because there's not a whole lot of records, there's an earthquake. It started out there, but where? I don't know. And then there's a lot of people out there drilling in the ground, getting samples. And a lot of oil people have done that and done a lot of drilling. It takes geologists to go through their samples and investigate and then document the faults, because all the different drill spots, and they say, well, there's a fault there. Okay. That it's where the faults are is where the oil is. And drilling it out, guess what? Sucking that out, and guess what? It just creates makes it move. Yeah. But anyway.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for being here, and I appreciate you. And thanks everybody over there on Facebook, on Rumble, and YouTube, and over here on Twitch. You can see us in the mornings, and I did it, but I didn't do it, did I? Not tonight. I didn't do it.
I don't think you did.
I didn't do it, but only because I've got it set up. I can do it like this and just go share this screen and window. There we go. Share it. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. I don't hear it. I don't know. I don't know if it's coming on there or not. No. It's not. All right, there's no sound. I don't know why. I'll stop it. I think I know why now. Yeah. Let me go like this. Yeah. Still, got technology, technology woes.
It's great when it works.
We had it going on the
we had problems at the start tonight too.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So this should be okay now. Hi, I'm Joe of the Joe Slick Live Show. My interactive live show is on twitch.tv/Joe Slick Live. Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and occasionally in the evenings at 7. During the live show, I review and talk about reports from government, private, and other reporting agencies and websites regarding celestial and terrestrial phenomena. Topics will include solar flares, sunspots, geomatic storms, and near-Earth asteroids and comets that are being monitored around the world. Included in the report is current events in the last 12 to 24 hours here on Earth, consisting of volcanic, seismic, and weather events. I close the morning report off with what's happening in the local and world news. Thank you, and you can be a part of the morning report by going to twitch.tv/Joe Slick Live. Look forward to seeing you there, and remember, don't get none on you. Yeah, make sure you like and follow, subscribe, and appreciate y'all. Yeah. All right, Canuck. Thanks, buddy.
Okay. Good
I
night.
think my other boy left already.
Yeah, he's gone already.
I know. Good night, bud.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.